Hello everybody, how are you? Hope you're all well. Thought I'd come on to a wee vid since I haven't been active over the past couple of weeks. As I know I did a live show last night, but that was just kind of spur of the moment. I've just since Ashley got moved back to our supported accommodation, I kind of fell into a wee bit of a rut for about 2 weeks. I had injured my back, whereas when I was in class, if I was on the floor and somebody was like executing a move on me, like drilling, or the pressure in the bottom of my spine was unreal. And then the day after that, I felt like tingling in my left leg, and when I called the doctor, they said it could be early signs of sciatica, but the pain's gone. It went away after, say, 5 days, week, whatever it was. So it's completely gone, but obviously that is pretty worrying if it is sciatica, but something just tells me I just moved the wrong way. My body went, like my spine went that way and my fucking head went that way or something, I don't know. But I'm just recovering. But you know me well enough by now that when I read about stuff, I go down rabbit holes all the time. I get distracted. So like I could be going and reading about, say, lions in the fucking Serengeti, whatever. Then while I'm reading about that, something in that material will mention some other group of predators, and then I'll go, oh, fuck, what's that? I need to go and read about that to be able to continue the rest of this, and it just end up getting round in circles sometimes, but end up quite analytical. So I thought to myself, I wanted to come on a few days ago and do this video anyway. It was about a stabbing in Long Lartin prison. I think it's like in Worcestershire or Leicestershire, something like that. And it's a category A prison. I think there's like 500 inmates, and like 75% are life sentence prisoners. So kind of like our Shots prison, like back in the day. Well, when I went there in 2004, about 70% of the block the National Induction Centre, when I first went there in 2004, about 70% of the hall was life sentence prisoners. But I know down in England, life can mean life. You can actually be sentenced to what's called a whole life term, whole life order, which basically means your crimes are so serious you're going to die in prison. Now, there is a lot of, shall we say, diversity in the English prison system, which kind of mirrors the US penal system in the context that from what I've heard, from what I've read of the American, a lot of people say and claim that the strongest groups are the blacks and Hispanics. Now, I don't know what the Hispanic population is like in the English prison system. I don't imagine it's that big, if any at all. But I do know through speaking to people, listening to people, and reading, researching, that one of the most dominant groups, if not the most dominant group in the English penal system, is radical Muslim extremists and terrorists. Now, the reason that this links to this video is because, as you'll know, I think I did videos on this before, the brother of the terrorist who detonated a bomb at an Ariana Grande concert in Manchester Arena in May 2017. That he was a Libyan national from Libya, right, living in the UK. Not him, and he had helped his brother construct this bomb, basically aiding and abetting a bomber, right? So he's serving a whole life term, and he was recently in the media for attacking prison officers for the second or the third time. Pretty serious. Well, what I mean is, in prison, in Scottish prisons at least, when there's a violent attack or a plan to use violence, if you ever hear somebody saying, so obviously people talk about it later, like, oh, what happened and what did you see, like, because say for talking sake, I'm locked in my cell and I know you're going to go and attack fucking Mr. X, so I'll go and say to somebody, like, what happened, like, did they do the damage, and somebody will say, oh, it was pure half-hearted, meaning it was probably done more for, like show, or the guy wasn't fully confident in his cell, or whatever the reason is. So I don't believe, from reading the media reports that I read, that these attacks were half-hearted. His name's Hashim Abedi, and I'd made a video about it a couple of weeks ago, and then after that we have the Southport terrorist by the name of Axel Ruda Cabana, who'd like attacked a nursery. No, I take that back. It was a children's dance class, might as well have been a nursery for all the defenceless, innocent people that were in here. And he murdered like 3 young girls, like primary school age. These were like, I think they were like 6 and 9, or this kind of 6, 7 and 9, whatever it was, right? Then he is in the media for attacking prison officers. I believe it was with boiling water. Nasty shit. I've seen it happening to a couple of people. Wasn't half-hearted either. It's not a nice look. But I don't imagine it for you. Imagine trying to get to sleep with that. Like trying to sleep at night with these fucking burnt, your skin's peeling off. Oofed. But then people, right, I know that people, there is such a thing as confirmational bias, where you're basically already made up your mind about something or someone, and then when you're researching it, you look for things to confirm what you already believe, rather than look at it objectively or whatever. And the reason that I say that is because it's easy to look at this and go, well, what do they two have in common? I know the news told you that actual Ruda Cabana wasn't a terrorist. He was a terrorist, and he is a terrorist. That wasn't just some random act of fucking lashing out against society pish. I don't buy that for a second. Especially when the government covered it up at the start, said he was a Christian for Wales. He might have been a Christian, might have been born a Christian, but he was not a Christian. He had converted to a certain religion, and had been found with terrorist training manuals in his, I think it was in his possession, on his computer. It was one of them anyway. All the signs, right? There was reports that he shouted Allahu Akbar when he attacked the victims, but I don't have any like other source other than the source I saw saying that, so you're just taking their word for it. But believe me when I tell you, that was a lone wolf terror attack, which is the MO of a certain group that was active in Syria and Iraq. I think you all know who I'm talking about, IS. That's their MO or the back. It's less sophisticated, less logistics, don't need a lot of people involved, whatever. No. There was recently a member of staff in Long Lartin prison, as I just explained, seriously wounded with a knife that had been smuggled into the prison, right? Now, my first thought, no gonna lie, was, I'm just got to be real. My first thought was, somebody who these people are in touch with, either in prison or outside prison, has released a fatwa calling for indiscriminate attacks on prison staff. And when you think about the amount of radicals that are in the English prison system, I don't see this ending well. There's one that's already been knifed. There's was it a week ago? I think he was in serious condition and as well in hospital. And what's even more alarming from the prison officer's perspective is this knife was smuggled into a category A prison where you couldn't even smuggle in a fucking extra toilet roll if you wanted, mate. In fact, a square of toilet roll is, you couldn't even get past these staff, because believe me when I tell you, the English system is more restrictive than the Scottish one. We used to go by the A cats, the B, the C, the D, but we don't run our system like that anymore. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but a good thing for your point of view anyway, but maybe no theirs. But the point is that this is as secure prison as it gets. So either there's a member of staff who's smuggled a weapon in, or it's been delivered by other means, which could have been a drone, it could have been flung over a wall, a fence, whatever. But that's what's also alarming about this, right? And as I just stated, my first thought when I heard it was, reading what I do read, right, I'm like, there's been some sort of general agreement amongst high-ranking terrorists in the UK penal system, or some religious leader with the system that they're talking to or whatever. Obviously I know all their calls are monitored and written down, and who's talking to who and where do they live and all that kind of stuff. But it sounds to me like these extremists have rejoined the war, and what I mean by that is, now they're no fighting out in the battlefields anymore, on the streets of London, the streets of Paris. Now they're fighting in on the landings across the English prison system. I would go as far as to bet my life this is what's happening now, rather than just be a moribund group of guys who were mujahideen back in the day and done this spectacular and done this and done that. Sounds like they're gearing up again. And we all know how these people roll. And I do believe there's got to be more staff hurt in the future. But there has been a lot of media hype about bringing in protective clothing and even weapons for staff. I did remember saying to somebody a while back when I was still in prison, when all the legal high came into prison, I said, I bet you any money the screws are going to start getting stab vests and CS gas or something, mace, because of the violence was just, it was like off the charts compared to what it was before. It was actually freaky. But anyway, I want to just read a wee bit out some of the news articles that I found, right? Because obviously the third attack, which was in Long Lartin, right, the one that I'm talking about today, I don't know if it was counter-terror or whoever came forward straight away and said, we are not linking this to terrorism. Now, they hadn't said anything about terrorism with the previous two, but because of how high profile they two cases are, being the brother of the fucking Manchester Arena bomber and the Southport scumbag, so they're two of the most high profile prisoners in the system. So you'll find that they they too are terrorists, right? There's no denying that. There's no arguing with it. They are, right. But this other attacker, he's just like a Joe Blogs. And before they'd released his identity, they're saying this was unrelated to terrorism. But straight away, they see what the government tells you it's no. To me, that's what it is. But then they're like, they said it was a white male, right? They said this in the description, and that'll throw you off. But the thing is, see, a lot of people in the English system, a lot of them are white Muslim converts. I actually met one of them in Low Moss. Guy was a fucking pure idiot, man. You could just tell he'd struggled with alcohol and drugs all his life, and then ended up in the English system and get turned out, basically. Told there a book, read that, you know what book I'm talking about. You're one of the brothers now. He used to go on about Hezbollah and all that all the time, mate. This was before I was even really interested in all this stuff. But let me just kind of give you the gist of it. This is for Sky News for 5 days ago, right? So it shows you how long I've been sitting on my arse thinking about this. A prison officer who received emergency treatment after being attacked at a high security jail was stabbed with a weapon from outside of the prison. The 25-year-old officer was airlifted to hospital after allegedly being attacked by an inmate who used a knife that wasn't made inside the jail, which is otherwise known as an improvised weapon. It is not known how the weapon was brought into the prison. However, a recent inspection of HMP Long Lartin in Worcestershire described the, quote, incursion of drones as an increasingly critical problem for the jail and a threat that was unsettling for the staff. Vanessa Frake, former head of security at HMP Wormwood Scrubs, told Sky News combating the ingress of drones needs, quote, more than a one-pronged approach. Fuck knows what that means. You need physical barriers, you need technology, and of course that costs money, she said. I get it now. The officer is in a stable condition following the attack on Friday morning, but underwent emergency surgery after sustaining what West Mercia police described as serious injuries. So no half-hearted. A 22-year-old suspect is being held in custody within the prison. So we're talking about a 22-year-old, right? So pretty young. West Mercia Police Assistant Chief Constable Grant Wills said on Friday that the incident was not being treated as terrorism. Why would you even need to feel the need to say that? But he said, our initial inquiry suggests there was a disagreement between an inmate and a prison officer that escalated and is an isolated matter within the prison. This was the third attack at a category high security jail in less than 2 months. What we're seeing with violence against staff at the moment is an escalation, said Tom Wheatley of the Prison Governors Association, a former HMP Long Lartin governor. The particular nature of some of these events is concerning, he said. I better believe it. He added, but this comes against the backdrop of rising violence in prisons for some years. Meanwhile, Ms. Frake warned that, quote, if something is not done, we could well see the murder of a prison officer. I would agree with that. In April, the Manchester Arena bomb plotter Hashim Abedi allegedly assaulted prison officers using hot cooking oil and a homemade weapon while in a separation centre, which are used to house extremist and violent offenders. Should just hang people at this, if I'm being honest, mate. A bit quick for them, but... At HMP Belmarsh, Southport killer Axel Rudacabana has been accused of throwing boiling hot water over an officer through the hatch in his cell door earlier this month. Jeez, oh. There were 10,605 assaults on staff in the year to December 2024, a 15% increase on the year before, marking a record high. The government says the safety of frontline staff is a top priority and has commissioned a series of reviews to consider increased protection for officers including stab-proof vests and the use of tasers in certain situations. The independent reviewer of terrorism, Jonathan Hall KC, has also been appointed to carry out a review of the alleged Abedi attack at HMP Franklin to consider whether separation centres are fit for purpose. I tell you something. See if these fucking nutters come back and say, oh, these should all be shut down, we need more humane treatment for these people. You deserve everything that's coming to you. I'll say that. A prison service spokesperson said police are investigating an attack on a prison officer at HMP Long Lartin. We will not tolerate assaults on hard-working staff and will always push for the strongest punishments against perpetrators. So, there you have it. When I hear that, fit for purpose, like, oh, we can't search his cell, it's against his religious beliefs, are you fucking mad? Security trumps that shite any day, man. That's coming for me, know what I mean? But it's fucking tiptoeing round these cunts, man. Get them all fucking... See if you're doing shit like that, you're blowing up concerts full of wee lassies, got to see Ariana Grande. You're fucking murdering, young girls in a dance class dancing to Taylor Swift. I know what I would do with you, mate. So listen to this one, right? This is for the 31st of May that I just seen this morning, right? Jail attack. Inmate who stabbed prison guard revealed a serial knifeman Muslim convert who once said it felt good to hurt people. Looks like a fucking wee knob and all, man. A lad who stabbed a prison officer using a flick knife smuggled in by drone is a white Muslim convert who once said it felt good to hurt someone. Callum Taylor, 22, jailed for a string of stabbings, is often heard shouting Allahu Akbar on the prison wing and carries a prayer mat, sources say. Guaranteed, right? This'll see these sources, they'll most likely be screws for that jail. They're probably just sitting going, no, what, fuck this management, they're doing nothing to help us. They're probably in fear. I would be in fear working in there, think about that, know what I mean? He carried out his latest attack just after 8:30am on Friday, stabbing a 25-year-old officer in the stomach. The officer had to be airlifted from maximum security Long Lartin Jail near Evesham, Worcestershire, to hospital for emergency surgery. So in other words, if he didn't get that, he was dying. 2 weeks before, the prison's watchdog warned of drones being used to smuggle weapons and drugs into Long Lartin, with the jail's surveillance tech branded obsolete. And you're guarding Cat A's, probably double Cat A's, man. A source said, the drone drops here are out of control. They fly in phones, knives and drugs. Get a knife to fuck, man, but the other stuff, not what I mean, just got to expect that in the jail, man. Taylor of Sheffield has a long history of violence. He was locked up in 2022 for a string of attacks, including a 3-month campaign of violence in which he stabbed 4 people and assaulted a 5th with nunchucks. He was given a 23-year extended sentence with a minimum of 18 years in custody, avoiding a life term due to his age. It's worked out well, hasn't it? The judge told him, you have escaped a life sentence by the narrowest of margins. The court heard a psychiatric report revealing Taylor admitted experiencing powerful urges to hurt people for no reason. When asked directly, he admitted that in a way it felt good to hurt someone else. That's just a pure weak-ass statement, mate. I guarantee... That sounds like something I would have said when I was 15. The only people who say things like that are weak people who have been hurt and rejected other days or think they have, and so just project it on other people. Taylor is said to have converted to Islam behind bars at Long Lartin. Surprise, surprise. Our source said the lad converted a while ago and since then it's like he's become someone else. Oh yes. he became even more paranoid and obsessive, constantly going on about people disrespecting him. He carries a prayer mat around and calls out Allahu Akbar. Taylor is now believed to have been transferred to the separation unit at top security Belmarsh prison. Hope you're enjoying it, you wee fucking runt. West Mercia police said the incident was not being treated as a terrorist attack, but as a disagreement. Fucking pull your head out your arses, man. Yous are just going to keep taking this. Let me be clear, right? How can you show an enemy respect and all this kid gloves treatment when they just look at you like you're less than me, you're a pure untermensch? It's what Sartre said, I hate people who respect their executioners. Jean-Paul Sartre said that, and I kind of get that. I have respect for people who, like, there has to be, not that I've ever been to war or anything, but like, you respect an enemy that's got a code, ethics, or fairness, or this kind of stuff. These people are just barbarians, man. They're wiping kids out and everything, and we've to treat them with kid gloves. Fucking nonsense, mate. It's just shocking. Like, they need to build a jail for people like that. Like, no human contact. See, like the one in Florence, Colorado, the ADX. Should build one like that here, but just for people like your fucking shoe bombers and your fucking pipe bomb, whatever they are, just nutters. Anybody try to indiscriminately wipe out innocent people, that's the next best thing to death, innit? But death would be too quick for some of them as well. They're scum, man. Know what I mean? But it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in the penal system down the road, because I dare say all the prison officers will all be getting stab vests and all that now, and that's upping the ante a bit. Do you know what I mean? Because stab vests only cover your torso, you know. So I'm not saying it will mitigate attacks, but might help them in the long run. I don't know, but it's pretty frightening, to be honest with you, innit? Know what I mean? But anyway, I'm going to go, but I might do a wee live later on as well and see what's happening. Hope yous are all having a good week, and I will speak to you all next time I'm back on. Catches.